So Erik Ten Hag is going to have to change his ways or he is out of the door. We have got more information on the meeting between Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Erik Ten Hag yesterday. Loads of people have been talking about this. But again, as always, haven't gone into the detail that is needed. I've got more on what has happened yesterday and where this has actually come from. So stay tuned for that. So we're going to talk about the injury update. Ten Hag actually has a press conference today, 4 days ahead of the actual game. Crazy. I didn't even know. But yeah, half 4 today, Ten Hag is talking. We're going to have injury updates, contract situations, and obviously all of the rumour mill regarding transfers of Manchester United going forward. This is Forever United TV, FUTV. Welcome along, everybody. I'm Adam, and we are updating you on everything that is Manchester United as always. Welcome to the early show, people. Hope you're all doing well. Well, let's get straight into it then, shall we? Let's get into what is actually happening. I think we need to go through everything that has been said. Rob Dawson from ESPN is the one that stole the headlines last night. A few other people have jumped onto that and actually been talking about what was said. So in terms of, first of all, what was said from Rob Dawson is this exactly. Graham Potter has been informally sounded out about his plans for the future by Ineos. And Jean-Claude Blanc has been inundated with calls from agents pushing the claims of their clients. That's from ESPN. Yes, that's what everyone has been talking about today. That's the quote that is flying around everywhere. I've got more detail to add to that, but I want to get into your thoughts straight away. I've been here before, I'm sure I have. I'm sure I've done this poll again, so I've just added a little bit to it in terms of where you guys are actually at. A lot has happened since that original news about Potter. Ten Hag has, well, he's either filled you with a little bit more confidence that he is the right man, or, like most people, has actually filled you with the thought of we're going actually nowhere under Ten Hag and his time is up. The problem we've got with this right now, with what has happened in these meetings yesterday, and this is what I want to get into now with the extra, with Ten Hag. The problem he's got is the original contract that he signed under the Glazers, Ed Woodward, everything like this, not so much, it was in the past, wasn't it? It was sort of the new regime just coming in, Murto and everything like that. The original contract that Ten Hag had negotiated with Manchester United, all of the perks, all of the control that he had or thought he would have going through his whole time. Obviously, no one was aware of what was about to happen regarding Manchester United and the bombshell that the Glazers dropped last year in November. Not the year before, actually, 2022. Jesus, that shows you how long ago it actually was. About the extra investment, therefore more people coming in, possibly new owners, so on and so forth. No one foreseen that coming, especially Ten Hag. Well, right now, the bit that I want to get into and I want to get your thoughts on straight away is this is what I've picked up from Ten Hag. So another piece here says, sources have told ESPN that Ten Hag is reluctant to give up any power in the new structure, especially his major role in the identification of transfer targets. He's guaranteed a veto on all transfer decisions under the terms of his contract, but his influence has extended beyond that, leading to United signing a number of his former players or those with links to Holland. That's come from ESPN again. Now, the bit that no one has actually brought up is the extra bit from when Ten Hag first took control at Manchester United. This is the most interesting read out of all of it. And this is Ten Hag talking to Dutch outlet Throw before he signed for Manchester United. After he'd signed for United, but what he was talking about and what he was negotiating before he actually signed on the dotted line. And it's this. I set requirements in advance about how I want to work. If they aren't granted, I won't do it. I am ultimately responsible and accounted for the results. I don't want to be the sole ruler. I stand for cooperation, but control in transfers is a condition for me. There may be trouble ahead. That's how I see that. Those comments there from Ten Hag before he signed for Manchester United, and that is how he sees his control right now. So that was back in 2022. That was Ten Hag talking then. So clearly in his contract right now, going off what he said there in that interview, is that he wants full control and say over the transfers. So all of this crap about Manchester United's recruitment and everything like that, scouting out Mason Mount Antony, all of these players, and everything that they've said is complete baloney. You only have to go back and do a little bit of research and read into previous interviews on what Ten Hag was, what he was like before he signed for United, and then interviews around that time. Everyone was just blown away by how crap United were. A new manager coming in, new presence. He looked great from his time at Ajax, and no one really looked at everything or looked into the minor detail of what was actually happening with Ten Hag, the type of man he was, what control he expected, and his expectations when signing for Manchester United. He seemed to have Manchester United by the neck. He seemed to have them pinned up against the wall, saying, this is what will be happening, this is what control I will have, and this is how soft Manchester United are and how crap we are as a footballing structure. To give this much power to one man was absolutely suicidal. And just reading through that there fills me with absolutely zero confidence whatsoever that Ten Hag will last it out under the time with Ineos, because we know what Ineos are bringing. This is going to be really, really interesting and to see exactly how this pans out. Like I said yesterday, in fact, David Ornstein from The Athletic has just done a podcast where he's been talking about Ten Hag might hold some cards to the back end. So he's got just over a year left on his contract, and Ornstein was saying that Ten Hag, if he starts to find a bit of momentum, he is going to have a big decision to make himself on his own career, because Ineos are not going to move on how they want to run Manchester United. Staff has to fall in place. Doesn't matter about previous contracts. Let's be honest, if results are not good on the pitch, Ineos have control now over managing, hiring people, sacking people, hiring and firing and such. So if things are not going well on the pitch, by the time this is all cleared up, which we know is the end of January, and if Ineos are officially in, Ten Hag can just be, bang, see you later, mate, out the door. You may have a mouth, you may have a say, you may have your own thoughts and philosophy on how you want control of the football club and what's best for you. Well, we don't agree with that. The best thing for us is getting you out the door because results are crap and you're demanding too much. And possibly this is why we've got no money left to spend right now as a club, because you've wasted it all on players, which quite clearly now is your say and your decision on them signings that have come in. Yes, there have been some good ones, but what is being scrutinised right now is that 150 million on two players that you cannot make work in Antony, in Mason Mount. Everyone's questioning Onana and why he brought him in. Literally every single player has got a link to Ten Hag, and this is the control, and this ultimately will be the easiest sacking in the world for Ineos. If Ten Hag kicks up a stink now with how crap Manchester United are on the pitch, then it is the easiest firing you are ever going to see in any walk of life. It's simple facts. They're not going to stand for it. He's not doing enough with the fortunes that he's been given and he's spent on Manchester United. And now he's kicking up his thing about how much control he wants in the future. Ineos looking in at how much he's wasted and how it's not made it work for him. He's done. He's done. And like I said yesterday, the only thing that saves Ten Hag now is European football this season, i.e. Champions League or a trophy, which is the FA Cup. They are the only things that can save Ten Hag's future at Manchester United. It's as simple as that. He doesn't stand a chance otherwise, in my opinion. And he will be out of the door. I can see Ten Hag fully being out the door before the season ends, with what I'm reading there, what's happening on the pitch, the way that Ineos work, Ineos' history of firing and hiring. I just don't see Ten Hag working at all in this model. Ten Hag has said he's looking forward to working alongside Ineos, but that comment, that statement, that was from the horse's mouth. Ten Hag actually thinks that he should have full control over transfers. That's a must, or he's not working. Quote, unquote, from Ten Hag before he signed that contract. Or he'd signed that contract, but he was talking about what he'd negotiated in. So Ten Hag has massive amounts of power when it comes to these transfers. So who are Manchester United to disagree, for instance, if Ten Hag wants a player? Who in that hierarchy above Ten Hag is going to disagree with him? Veto? No, he's not. He wants his job. He's not gonna disagree with a manager that he's in charge of showing around Old Trafford and in charge of looking after. Arnold, the money man, he's not going to say no. Who's going to say no to what Ten Hag actually put on the table? There's no one with authority above Ten Hag to actually tell him that these are crap signings. All of the old hierarchy, Judd, the head of scouts, Woodward, all of these people had left and were out the door. The new era was Arnold, Veto and Ten Hag. That was ultimately, that was the team, that was the three-man team. That, for me, looked like everything that was Manchester United's transfer negotiations. Everyone who was in charge of making the big calls, they were the main protagonists in everything. So, reading that, looking at what's happened, looking at the signings that we've made, looking at how bad we are on the pitch because of this, a massive, massive chunk, probably 3/4 of what is actually happening right now, when the money that has been spent is down to Ten Hag. You look at Ten Hag now, he's 18 months into his contract. Everyone is lauding what Arsenal did for Arteta in the summer in spending 200 million. That sounds good. And if you get 200 million every single summer, then I don't think anyone's going to complain with the investment from the owners for backing the manager, are they? I don't think there's one fan that would ever complain or say that that isn't good enough. Ten Hag spent 400 million. He's had two summer windows, and spent 400 million. So Ten Hag has been backed. He has been backed when you look at this. And when I look at that, what I've just read out, and when I look at everything else that everyone is going into now, i.e. what happened with that meeting yesterday with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the control that they want, it's just brought to the table what happened before. No one was looking at this. No one was looking into this. And no one was looking into the amount of control. Everyone was saying it just off the cuff. Oh, Ten Hag, he's had this much money spent. He spent it on this player. He's wasted on this. We need to sack him now. He's culpable for all of the mess that's going on as well. He's just as bad as the Glazers, and all these passing comments. Did anyone actually read into the detail of what was actually said? This has just been brought up now because I've been talking about Ineos. I've been talking about how they act, how they usually do business, the control that they have, their system, their structure, the people that they're bringing in. We're talking about Dan Ashworth, we're talking about Paul Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc, as in what Rob Dawson from ESPN has said there, inundated with clients pushing, with agents pushing their clients as for the new manager's job at Manchester United. We're talking about all of this just because of this 25% takeover. I don't think anyone would have even brought this up as to who really is in control, but all you have to do is just do a little bit of reading, a little bit of research into what was said before, and it all comes to light, and you start piecing everything together again, and there is the issue at Manchester United right now. In terms of recruitment, it does look like Ten Hag is the man who's brought these players in. I can see Dobie there. He didn't negotiate the fees. Again, I just mentioned it then, Dobie. The biggest problem is Ten Hag is picking the players. And you've got them above him who are going to say no because they know how much them players are going to cost. They're not telling him no. We can't get that player because it's going to cost this much. You want this player at this price, then you're not going to have amount of money to spend the next window, or so on and so forth. There's no one with authority at United, and it all comes back down to it. Yes, Ten Hag doesn't negotiate the prices, but when the club tell them that it's going to cost this much, Ten Hag has to veto it. That is the whole point of this conversation. He has to sign off in the end of these transfers. So no matter how much it's going to cost or how much that player is, Ten Hag still knows how much money is going to be available after that player is bought. But he has to sign off on that. We talked about this yesterday regarding Rafael Varane's contract and what's coming and David De Gea. Ten Hag didn't veto David De Gea because he wanted to spend 45 million on Andre Onana. So Ten Hag is in charge of what is going on right now, and he cannot get away with no blame in this. Yes, United waste money. Our transfer committee is crap. We always get taken to the cleaners for the fees that we pay, the wages that we pay, the negotiations and everything like that. United have always been absolutely awful, but Ten Hag still has to sign these off. And he could have easily said, no, actually, 45 million could have gone towards the price of what Mason Mount's costing, and we could have actually gone and got Declan Rice for that price. Still had De Gea on one more year, save a bit of money up. Maybe we could have bought Bayindir in as well for the cheap price he was. Still have De Gea there. Bayindir is a number 2. And then De Gea goes on a free the end of the season or whatever it is. And we have a goalkeeper there then. But no, he had everything set on Andre Onana. That was Ten Hag. That was him. He had everything set on Mason Mount. He wanted Harry Kane. We know that for certain. Obviously, you have to then make your mind up. What's more important? Could United have just got away with having Harry Kane in our side this summer? I don't think we would have. I said it last night. I don't think any big player would come to Manchester United and be brilliant. There's a lot of issues behind the scenes. There's a lot of issues with United's style of play and everything. These big players want to move to teams that are actually going places and actually have a style of play and a system in place that's going to make it easier for them. That's what it is ultimately in the end. So for me, I feel like Harry Kane still would have struggled a bit, but would have got his goals, would have definitely made United better. But what we're talking about here is Erik ten Hag and his targets. He is in charge of who comes to Manchester United. He puts the names out there. Yet he doesn't negotiate the price. I understand that, but he still has to sign it off. He still has to sign it off. He could have seen that Mason Mount was too much, and he could have just gone, actually, I'm going to take a chance on Mason Mount actually coming to United on a free next season. The club came out with a statement on Mason Mount. It was a now or never signing in Mason Mount. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Well, it's a never signing now, and we've got no money. He's not playing in the team. He's not going to get ahead of Bruno Fernandes. Erik ten Hag brought Mason Mount in because of something he'd seen years ago when he was out on loan in Holland. So, for me, Ten Hag has got to take a lot of the blame in all of this, and he's not getting away with it. And what we just discussed then, and the power that he wants to carry on this way. It's not going to work. It's not going to lie with Ineos. This is a recipe for disaster. The more and more you look into it, the only saving grace he's got is if he wins something or he gets back into the Champions League this season. That, for me, would show Ineos that he has got something. And I feel that is the only way Ten Hag survives past this season for Manchester United. DJ John with a super sticker. Thank you, buddy. How cold is it? He's saying cool. I don't know if he means cool video or it's cool in Sweden. He was reporting it could be -40. I don't know. I think everyone needs the Swedish update, weather update when DJ John comes in the house. Erik ten Hag has been given money, but I don't think he should have been given that much control in the first place. It's because of the lack of structure. It is. Martin, that was from Paps. Martin says, Erik ten Hag doesn't strike me as someone who will stand for being told who his players are going to be. I agree with that one. I don't think he is. Who's that? Chomino says, Adam, don't get carried away. That you veto a player does not mean you are responsible for any inept negotiating team playing over the odds. Rob Dawson was banned by Erik ten Hag for leaks and has revenge. No, because the article I'm reading was from 2022, mate. So, yeah, and he didn't bring it out. He was just asked questions about the situation that was about Jean-Claude Blanc being inundated with players. In terms of Erik ten Hag, he has to veto players. He doesn't negotiate the price, but he has to veto him. What we're saying here is he's in charge of players coming in. So it is him who actually recommends the players. He is in charge of that. And you only have to look at the players and the links he's got. You could maybe say, look, he didn't get Frankie de Jong, and we went out and just got what was available. We needed a high-quality midfielder, and we got Casemiro, and it worked for a season. Ten Hag recommended Martinez. I will back him up on that one because the club should have gone out and got him at a cheaper price. The club should have gone out and got Antony at a cheaper price. That's not Ten Hag's fault in terms of how much money he's spent. That is the club's fault on the negotiation side of things, again, which does not work. But still, no matter what you paid for Antony, he's still a failure on the pitch. He's not doing enough. You can't argue with that. And now you're seeing Manchester United trying to cover everything up by getting rid of the big earners at the club, trying to save a little bit of money, trying to get that tiny little bit out of anything that they possibly can. This is Ineos coming in trying to right the wrongs of the previous regime right now. So I am blaming Ten Hag for a lot. I'm not blaming him for all of it, but a massive chunk. And really, what's happened before, we can't go back on and change right now. But the main issue and what we're talking about here is Ten Hag's immediate future at Manchester United. It is under serious threat. We will beat Wigan. I'm confident we will. Wigan are just not a good team, let's be honest. And I do think he's going to go strong. The fact that Anana is not going to AFCON is, for me, it's a joke still. I said it last night. It still winds me up now. It's just sending the wrong message, in my opinion. Why isn't Bayende getting game time? I don't know. He will play a strong team against Wigan. He needs to win the FA Cup, or he needs to get into the Champions League. Otherwise, I think he's gone. Jam the highlights. I still not believe you brought Mount to use and how much you paid us. He's obviously a Chelsea fan. A lot of Chelsea fans weren't happy with that, though, when Mason Mount left. I think a lot of Chelsea fans are thinking the same thing might happen with Gallagher as well right now. So, yeah. A couple more likes away from the 100 mark, guys. Thank you very much. Let's get liking the video. Everyone in the chat right now, let's get over that 100 and start moving on to the 150 marker, please. Liam Whitehouse, I think Arsenal being interested in Martinez pumped up his price and made it a bit of a bidding war. But if Ten Hag wanted him, he should have got him earlier. The club let him down on that side of things. And yes, I am backing him on that bit. But what we have to say is Ten Hag still has to make more out of the players that he's got in his team. He's bemoaning injuries. He's talking about that being the issue. He'll have a bit more balance in his squad once everyone's back from injury. We've been through this numerous times. It's not made one hell of a difference. He wasn't moaning when we beat Villa and beat Chelsea and got the draw against Liverpool about his squad. He's moaning about his squad and using it as an excuse simply because we're losing. And he needs that get out. He needs something to give back to the media. Ed says, the less time Erik ten Hag has to spend on transfer activities, the more he can focus on training the squad. Very good point, Ed. Exactly. I think he wants too much control, and I think this is what will end Erik ten Hag. Just concentrate on training the players, working on your philosophy, getting the best out of the players that you've got, and let the people who do their jobs better above you do theirs. Get all the transfer dealings done. Look after everything above and below Erik ten Hag regarding the youth team, regarding the transfers, regarding all of the structure. Let them do that, Erik. You get on with trying to get the best out of what you've got, because no more money is going to be spent in January. You're going to have to deal with what you've got and make the most of the rest of this season with the squad that's there right now. If you don't, then I feel like you're going to get fired and you're going to be out of a job. Simple as that. I feel like that's where we are with Ten Hag, and that's where we are with the rest of this season. Let's get into more of the chats. We can blame Erik ten Hag for the players he's bought in, but not for the fees paid, like I just said. Yes, Darren, that's true. Managers need someone above them to say no. The numbers don't work. Let's move on to the next target. Exactly, Darren. There needs to be a committee that brings a certain amount of players to the table and say, let's pick from these. He's this age, he's that age, attributes, price tags, sell-on factor, everything comes in. But you need to find, it's not just one man. There has to be more. And someone needs to tell Ten Hag, right, Darren, and say, look, this one isn't going to work this time. We have to move on, and move on quick. We cannot just cling on to the hope of signing a Harry Kane or a Frankie de Jong and let it drag out just so it looks like we are doing something. Yes, transfers take a long time. They don't when you've got a structure, because the dealings are done while the season is going on. Then when the window opens, everything starts to fall into place because you are run properly. Your recruitment side is bang on. The structure is in place and everything is dealt with in season, ready to go. You listen to anyone talk, the Brighton recruitment side, their chairman and people like that, and how quickly they start working on transfers coming up. And for me, that is where Manchester United haven't been for a long time. Richard's got a moan on him. Stotty, stop coming up with things you can't back up. Like what? Again, Context, people, please. If you're going to have a go, which is all welcome on this channel, please explain. Please explain what your point is and what you're trying to get at. It's all right coming back with your silly little comments, but if you're not going to back it up or add a bit of context, I can't come back and we can't have a conversation. So, sorry, no, I'm going to have to ignore it for now. Collective accountability and responsibility needed throughout our whole club, says Stephanie. Agree with that. No accountability anywhere within this club for any part of it or any part of the business, in fact. Jonathan, who sold Elanga? He is performing better than Anthony. I understand the argument with Elanga. It probably would have been Ten Hag because he'd have told the recruitment team and Elanga that he wasn't part of his plan. But at the end of the day, it is different responsibilities. It is different pressure playing for Nottingham Forest than it is Manchester United. Anyone can look good in another shirt, but then when they come to Manchester United, they find it tough. That's the thing. Adam, explain to me what EYH philosophy is. Is that supposed to be a T where the Y is, Richard? So Erik Ten Hag, what is his philosophy? Again, mate, like I've just been saying, we don't know because he hasn't been able to implement any of it at all. I don't get where you're coming from with that one, my friend. I'm not too sure. My issue is Ten Hag and has not seen him get enough out of these players and that philosophy come through. The issue that I'm going on about is Ten Hag and how much he's wasted in the transfer market. Again, not his problem about how much has been spent, but the players he's brought in haven't been good enough. Richard, I don't think he has one, says Colin. Mark Harris, the more you see Anthony getting picked, the more it proves Sancho's statement. I understand that, yes. I think that's where Sancho's issue is. I think it is with Ten Hag. I think it is with Anthony playing ahead of him all the time. You just, again, typos, mate. You just said you did. No, I didn't. I don't think I did say I knew what his philosophy was. I said he needs to implement his philosophy. We're not seeing the philosophy. I get you out together, Erik Ten Hag, because 18 months in, we're not seeing any of it. And now he needs to get on the training ground and prove that he actually has got one and a style of play because it's not there. That's what I'm saying. He needs to show us what his philosophy is. It's not there with Erik Ten Hag at all. T.Y. Anfield, do you think Ineos will turn United around or do you have doubts? Both. It's going to take a lot of time, T.I. I think it is going to take an awful lot of time because Manchester United are in such a mess. Everything is just broken from top to bottom. We're going to need to see this structure working over a few seasons, I feel. A few transfer windows, things like that. Until then, the doubts are going to remain, is what I will say. Erik Ten Hag sold Zidane, Kova, also benching Palestri Hannibal continuously, says Nilmanjan. Alistair, welcome. Hope you're good. Don't want Potter, straight away he says. Mike Fergus, hopefully we won't get our pants pulled down again from now on and we will be respected in the transfer negotiations. Again, Mike, that will all come in time and the structure being given chance to actually work, hopefully. I'll say, hopefully. We still don't know. I'm trying to big Ineos up and say that we are moving forward, but until they are in charge for a few years, we're not going to know. We're never going to know. We do need to see changes, and hopefully the personnel is where everything is going to change. Richard, I expect us seriously challenging for the Prem title and Champions League title within 3 years. The club isn't in that bad a state. Yes, it is. And no, we won't be challenging within 3 years, in my opinion. Hopefully, you're right, Richard. I think we are in a bad state. I really do, because we haven't got any leaders, for one, on the pitch. We're trying to get rid of the big earners, which you would have thought would have been your leaders, because they're the most experienced players and the ones that earn and weren't earning more money. But again, we cannot build a team around Scott McTominay. We cannot build a team around Marcus Rashford. I don't think he's got it. McTominay and Rashford, I feel now, are moving into the area of squad players. United haven't got the money to invest to build a championship-winning team within 3 years, in my opinion, mate. I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right. People are saying no to Potter in the poll. I'm going to end that poll right now. Cheers for voting on that, everyone. Thanks for the likes as well. Not far away from the 150 mark. Please, everyone, just give us a like on the video. That would be fantastic. Let's move forward and get into other subjects. The Sancho update, again, that's come up today. Everything has gone on. The fees agreed. We talked about it yesterday, but Romano's come out with another update today saying that everything is in place. There's still a little bit to do. It's not done and dusted, but fees are agreed, and it's now just a case of time just for everything to be finalised, and hopefully Dortmund will have Sancho in their training camp after their winter break in Marbella, training with them. That's what they want to happen, and I think Manchester United are happy to go along with that. Everything now is just moving along nicely, and that deal should be done, like we said, around the weekend time, and he will be off to Germany again. Adam, did you notice how the narrative has changed to Erik ten Hag, and nobody seems to be focusing on the details of the Rat deal? The Rat deal, as in Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is what you're referring to there, Dobert, is everyone has got into everything in that. We cannot judge anything else right now until they take charge. So ultimately the conversation is going to go to Ten Hag, Dobie, because there's nothing else to really talk about. We know what control Ineos are going to have now. All we're waiting to see are the people that they put in place. But obviously nothing can happen yet until the Premier League pass it off and they're officially in at Manchester United. This is like the grace period, the auditing and sounding out period for Ineos. So I feel like the conversation is automatically going to go on to Ten Hag because we're so bad on the pitch. But maybe when the announcement is made and we start bringing in possibly Ashworth, Mitchell, Jean-Claude Blanc and Sir David Brailsford, people like that start being officially announced by the football club in their positions, then we can start talking about the details of everything again and we can really scrutinise what's going on. But like I said, it is going to take some years for us to see what these guys are actually made of. It's not going to happen overnight. Recruitment doesn't happen in a short period of time like that. There are players that they might have been looking at or know of that they can start recommending. But in terms of the whole philosophy that the club is going to have to rebuild again, that's going to take a long time. And I feel like that is why we're not talking too much about the takeover just now. Maybe in the summer when we see how much money is being invested into players, that will come up then again. Jonathan says full sale only, but perhaps with Ineos we won't keep getting our pants pulled down in the transfer market. You can see already expectations are being managed already with agents. That's very true. That is very true. And we are in a position now of change, and a new dawn is coming with Manchester United. We will have to see what happens. Again, I keep going back to it, constantly saying, look, proof is in the pudding. We will see when they are in charge what they put in place and how much it affects Manchester United going forward. Adam, name a cam we should get. Oh, a cam for Manchester United, mate. I'm not even going to go into it. I honestly don't think we can get anyone. I don't. I'm just looking at Manchester United now as what we've got. I don't even want to talk about anything right now. This is why I'm focusing on Ten Hag and what he's got. Why I was going mad last night if he is going to stop Hannibal going out on loan. He's clearly not using him this season, only in bit parts. This is a player that has got potential, and he's shown he's got potential. He needs to go out on loan, and he needs to get game time. So I'm focusing solely on what is in front of us right now and nothing else. We have to make this season work under Ten Hag. To be honest, everyone wants him to do well because ultimately the team doing well. The team will do well if Ten Hag does well. But we can see the issues that he's causing right now from the outside. Only he is going against it or saying anything against it. It's like he's watching a different game to all Manchester United fans right now. I still can't believe he said that the second half was better against Nottingham Forest. We lost that second half. We drew the first half. No idea. I've looked at every single journalist who was at that game's comments when that substitution for Mainu and McTominay was made. Completely baffled, every single one of them. Completely baffled. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract has been triggered, i.e. the year extension. And within that, Manchester United are actually negotiating a new deal for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So it might not be the typical end of the player at Manchester United. This is usually what happens when they trigger the one-year extensions at the end of contracts. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka, apparently, by all accounts, there is now negotiations going on for a new contract past the one-year extension. Again, this will be in line with the new structure at Manchester United. So I feel like he's not on a load of money at the moment, I don't think, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So I think his negotiations might actually be a positive one. And he could be getting a little bit more. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka is definitely not up there with the highest earners in Manchester United. So, yeah. That is what's happening with Wan-Bissaka. And I think he's probably earned it. I wouldn't have an issue with Wan-Bissaka staying, personally. I've got problems with his forward game. I thought he had a poor game against Nottingham Forest, but I'm not going to judge him off one poor game. I will like to see how he bounces back. And I think a lot of these one-year extensions with the club right now is a chance for the new structure coming in to actually have a look at how they react and how they carry on playing, because they're part of a team which is sitting mid-table right now and not good enough. So are we going to get a reaction from the Forest game? That reaction would be beating Wigan, beating Spurs and beating Wolves for me. If they don't, then that's not reaction. That's not a reaction. That's not good enough. That's what I expect as a United fan. They're games that United can win. I'm not getting too ahead of myself. Like I said, we are going to have to drop our expectations as fans with this team, with what's going on. It's going to take time for everything to come through, but I do believe that we've got enough to beat the likes of Spurs, Wigan and Wolves. So, yeah, I'm expecting wins from them. I'm expecting this team to have enough. If not, then it clearly shows that there are still problems within Manchester United. And the pressure will keep on mounting and mounting and mounting onto Ten Hag's head. And this is why I feel like he is under massive pressure and will end up losing his job before the end of the season. Because I don't see us right now in the way we're playing getting Champions League football. He has put everything on to all of these players coming back from injury. That's what he's done. That's his last throw of the dice, Ten Hag. Martinez, Casemiro, Mount, Maguire, Lindelof, Shaw, all these players coming back from injury is what Ten Hag is clinging on to, and that's the hope that he's got right now. That's the only hope he's got. That's his last throw of the dice. All the excuses are out, done. He's called it out in press conference, said that because of the injuries, Manchester United haven't got the balance, we can't implement a plan, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, when these players come back and the form doesn't get any better, then that's the end of Ten Hag. That is him well and truly done. Tronino says, Adam, have you watched the Forest game again? We were much better in the second half. Watching the game a second time with less emotions always looks different, and perhaps managers must be like that. He was talking straight after the game. We weren't better, in my opinion, in the second half. We literally made a change which changed up a little bit. And what you're referring to is some passes of play and creating chances. Well, he stuck with Antony for the second half. That was Ten Hag's plan. He was forced into bringing Antony off because he was doing nothing. And we started to get a bit more success down the right-hand side because we brought Ahmad on. That was it. The chance that we created was gifted to us by Forest. So, no, we weren't better in the second half, in my opinion. And if you're clinging on to that as Manchester United improving, then we will stay at mid-table. It's all right people saying we're better in the second half. Yeah, the first half was absolutely awful. So if you think just because we're better than the first half, that's okay, then, like I said, drop your expectations. And if you're happy with between 6th and 10th in the league, then that's good. That's great. Not for me. I'd rather be fighting at the top end of the table. That second half performance was atrocious. Because we're comparing it to the first, it actually looks a bit better. Well, we had more control of Forest attacks, and I didn't have a save to make in the first half. So I could counter that by saying defensively we were better in the first half. We just made poor decisions in the first half in terms of creating chances, and that was because of Antony. Bruno being completely off it. Rashford really not giving an absolute toss at all. We weren't better for me at all. And I think people are clutching at straws if they thought that second half against Forest was any better. In terms of updates on injuries, like I said, we are going to find out of Ten Hag today, later on this afternoon. We'll cover that in the 6:30 show, guys. So make sure you do tune in to the 6:30 show. We're going to be talking Ten Hag's press conference, obviously, and see what he says. It's going to be interesting after the meetings and everything that was happening this week, what Ten Hag's view on it all was in front of the media as well. So that's going to be really interesting to find out what happens there. So tune into that. We're hearing that Shaw is going to be back in training fully next week. So maybe he will be fit for the Spurs game. We're hearing that Casemiro and Martinez are going to be available for the Spurs game as well. I don't think they're going to be ready for Wigan this weekend, and I don't think it would risk them anyway. So for me, I feel like all of the big guns, Mount may possibly be fit for the Wigan game. Casemiro, Martinez more than likely going to be next week, but Ten Hag may fill us in with a bit more information. Maybe it's a good game to integrate the players back into. Not as much expectation against the likes of Wigan. Not as much pressure on that game. Well, really, there is pressure. If he loses it, then I feel like that is him done. But we won't lose to Wigan. We're going to beat Wigan. I'm pretty certain of that. I think the players will come out with a bit between their teeth and we will smash them. Honestly, that's how I feel. But again, I'm not going to be carried away by that. And I'm fully judging the Spurs and the Wolves game more as the important ones. For me, it doesn't really matter about the Wigan game because I feel like we're expected to win that. Wigan are a poor team and we will win. Spurs, Wolves, them types of games, no. We have to win them. And I feel like they will really tell us where we're at with Ten Hag. Everyone's back. All he's had to do in midweeks, all month, is train, work on whatever system he wants to play. There's no excuse for not coming out with a plan and an idea of how we attack these games. He's had all the time under the sun. Zero travelling for the rest of this year now. No flights, no quick games. 2 games every bleeding 3 days like it was last season. Zero excuse. Fully fit squad. And by the way, Highland is also back in training. So I can't see us not beating Wigan. But that's just the tester, isn't it? That's just the teaser into what is to come. And that is Tottenham. Ange Postecoglou. If we lose that game at Old Trafford, then I don't think he will be gone, but the pressure is going to be absolutely immense if we don't get anything out of that Spurs game. It really is. We'll see, won't we? We will see. But guys, that is pretty much it. Make sure you do tune in to the show later on tonight. There's going to be loads to talk about later. Guys, if you do drop down into the description of this video, though, there is a link to the new shop, the FUTV shop. Check out some of the merch which is coming out. And yeah, it is available if you want to go for it. Just wanted to drop that in there. I did say to all the members in the community post earlier on, they had a little sneak peek of what was to come. But in the chat, in the description, there is the shop, the new shop for FUTV. I'm going to start wearing some of the stuff myself as well. Loving the opportunity to expand and do more and bring more to you guys as well. So yeah, thank you very much. Make sure you give the video a like before you leave the room as well, guys. Subscribe if you are tuning in for the first time as always. And I'll see you later on this afternoon, 6:30. Unless something else breaks in the meantime, I will be back live with you guys then. Thank you very much.